very invest.
What's so incredible about Bitcoin is that, like, if you had a true gold standard in the United States, like we've had periods where we were doing pretty good. It's more of a problem every time government steps in and, you know, the banks no longer have to compete for deposits and they're all working together and they don't have to worry about credit expansion, which has to be at the, like, if you were to look at all of like the history of the United States and the risk of credit expansion from banks, the fact that they no longer even need to hit reserve requirements anymore because the Fed will just back them with repo loans. So there is no longer reserve requirements in the United States. Like that is, at least there was some standard of reserve requirements, which it explains people doesn't really exist, because when, like, it used to be the risk was if, you know, you brought your money to another bank and now I had to pay that bank when the check came in, the month, you know, I could go under, right? But now when they all work together and they just lend them the money that they need at the end of the night on their books, right? And then the Federal Reserve is there as the backdrop. So that doesn't exist. So, but we got to be at the worst period of that in all of human, like I'm saying in the history of the country, in terms of the risk of credit expansion. This has to be the worst era of that ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking to your point, I mean, that's the beauty of at least Bitcoin. I can't speak to the other cryptos. But the beauty of Bitcoin is that there's I can't speak to what the exchanges are doing. The exchanges could be recreating the banking system and being actually, if I were one of the exchanges, I would be doing that. I don't know why they wouldn't. I don't think they'll do it at the same level as like Chase does, but I mean, I have the Bitcoin that I bought on Coinbase, I've never touched. And I'm sure they know exactly the amount of people that never touch their shit. So why wouldn't they be using my money? Anyways, back to your point, which is crypto a better, obviously, yes. If you understand the way Bitcoin works, there's a finite number of it. It's decentralized, and I can't speak to Coinbase or some of the other institutions, but if you got, which I'm too dumb for it, but if you got your hard wallet, you know what I mean? Like, you're good.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is you become your own bank. And, you know, if you don't want to go back through Coinbase or whatever, that's your prerogative. If, you know, somebody gets found out, which, you know, with all the information they're taking at Coinbase and a couple of the other big exchanges, I wholeheartedly think that, you know, if, and maybe better yet, if you don't think that they're going to mess around on Coinbase and possibly like turn you in for how much money you've got, if the federal, you know, government asks for it, then I think you're probably kidding yourself. You know, absolutely, at some point you're kidding yourself. But yeah, no, blockchain is one of those things that I've found very interesting. I started getting into it, you know, last year, especially the Bitcoin space. And the more I read, the more I was just like, wow, there is a mountain of information that these guys have talked about. And when you go through it, you know, even back then, it was funny as I found this guy Swan guy who's great.
He's the best.
He's an awesome dude.
Yeah.
And so to talk to him about, you know, everything that, you know, he sees and what he's talked about in the past, and to know where these guys are going to attack it beforehand. Like when they said they're gonna come after crypto for being too energy and, you know, dependent, right? And sure as shit, like there was Elizabeth Warren and the rest of those goons up there.
Which is such a it's such a sham claim. Which, God bless. I mean, listen, if you're holding Bitcoin, you're defunding the government. The product of the government is currency. It allows them to inflate, allows them to go to war, allows them to fund themselves. They need, and that's what we do. I want to make this movie with you. Well, email me, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. Dude, that one, I got to be honest, it's going to take a lot of research, so it's not coming anytime soon. I've got other projects down the pipeline. That one's not coming for a long time.
Jake is a good guy. I know him, so I'll introduce you guys. But yeah.
Is he a movie maker?
Yeah, man, he's actually doing a documentary about this run for governor down here. It's ridiculous.
Oh, cool. Well, hit me up, dude. I mean, if you got budget, I'll spend other people's money. If you got someone who wants to fund this project, sure, I'll sit down. I'll write it up. We'll make it funny too. It'll be great.
It sounds good. God, where were we going? Bitcoin and...
Oh, no, we were talking about the claim of energy. So you got to understand, they obviously... That's the only problem with Bitcoin, is that we go to war over currency. That's why we went to war in Libya, was they were going to start trading oil for gold. That's the kind of shit that, like, you're fucking with our product. Like that's the product of the government is currency, and we're now challenging their market. Everything else you do, they're making tax off of it. Like they want you to some extent, they want you to go to be successful unless you're competing with a critical industry. If you're competing with a critical industry, then you're butting up against protected players. Like if you got a new solution for coronavirus that could help everybody out, you might get boxed out because you're competing with established players. Unless you're an established player, if you're Amazon, you might be able to pull it off. But if you want to piss off government, like really piss them off, their primary product is dollars. We go to wars over that shit. We're trying to remain the currency of the world. We want as much usage of our currency as possible, because the more that's out there, the more we can print, the less inflation people at home will feel. It allows us to rob more and more wealth and fund ourselves. So that's the risk of Bitcoin, is that it gets shut down, made illegal. The NSA actually cracks it, and all of a sudden people go, oh, this can be hacked and it can't be, it's actually not secure. That's the risk on our plate. That will be the last thing that they do to try and shut it down. And maybe it doesn't go there. Maybe if enough institutional players start using it, they can't actually, take down pension funds. We'll see. But specifically on the environmental thing, it's a very easy criticism to make, to go, because it's true. You look at Bitcoin, you're like, wait, this is retarded. So you've got a digital currency and you're just going to burn fossil fuels and wreck the environment for like, there's literally no if you looked at it without understanding Bitcoin, and we can explain it, but you would just go, there's literally no reason. It's like you're keeping $1. Like, let's just say digitally, I want a record that I have $1. And in order to create the false scarcity of this mechanism, we're just going to burn fossil fuels. It's not like I got to burn fossil fuels because I got to like be in a jet and go to Mars kind of thing. So like, yeah, you got to burn the fossil fuels to get up there, right? We are burning fossil fuels to keep a record on a digital platform that just says $1. And the reason we're burning the fossil fuels is just to create the environment of scarcity, right? So like on the surface, you're like, why would you do that? There's other ways to create a record of digitally, I own $1 or I paid you $1. I can send an email. I could send you an email. We don't use any energy whatsoever that says I owe Shane $1. We both accept that as a contract. Now you got a perfect record of the fact that I owe you $1. Why are we going to burn energy for this? So it's a very fun criticism of Bitcoin. What it does not acknowledge is that the entire framework for this is that there's a perfect equation behind the way that the decentralized currency works, which is that you have to burn electricity in order to harvest Bitcoin. Like that's the way and the more Bitcoin we get, the harder it is to mine. And so the more electricity you're going to have to consume. So it actually creates the value of the currency in the fact that we're burning electricity. Now, yes, the burning the electricity literally does nothing except that it creates the value of the currency, because we've created a scarcity and a difficulty in going and getting it. So you can look at that and go, well, this is retarded. You're just burning energy for no reason, except that money is the tangible good by which every transaction then happens. And there's more value. Think about how much money I would spend to not have 40% of my money taken me from every year. So whatever electricity we're burning in that process, so I can actually have a secure asset.
Peanuts.
And people can actually people in third world countries can actually have access to capital. Me and you can understand, oh my God, my money's going to be worth more in the future, and then not go engage in, not saving our money and not having good capitalism or good price signals or good money. So it's literally peanuts. Money is like, it's almost like the way we need water in order for our bodies to function. It's like the root thing that we need for survival. The root thing we need for economies to function is money. We need a good money source. And if we've got a good money source, it's like having fucking water. Trees will grow. We can do all sorts of incredible things. And government money is not that. It doesn't allow for good capitalism. So the value that we get from burning this electricity is more than that rocket going to Mars. It's more than being able to drive your car. It is a failed understanding of the importance of sound money to look at the oil or whatever is being consumed in order for Bitcoin to function and go, this is a waste of electricity. It might be the highest value proposition for what you could be doing with that electricity.